All right, let's take a look at this second phrase here. We know that we just got to a nice big half cadence in D minor, right? So we started in F, then we somehow magically got to D minor, and we got to a half cadence. And so this is a C sharp here, just to keep that in mind. And we're going to come into this second phrase. And end up someplace totally different. So let's see if we can figure out really quickly what key we go to. We're in D minor. That's our old key. D minor is our old key here. I'm going to sort of bring this over and say, what's our old key? Old key equals D minor, right? So we start in D minor. And we get to a cadence here. Now, I want to sort of try to use the quick way here. We're not going to build a whole key network. What do we think are options, or what clues do we have in here for what key we go to? Number one, obviously, you need to keep the closely related keys to D minor kind of in mind. But there's another big clue, and it's those F sharps there, right? So F sharp would suggest what key? What kind of function, what role is F sharp playing? It's the leading tone of G. And we can sort of see, look, F sharp resolves to G there. F sharp resolves to G there. This is G minor because we're in a flat type world. And just to confirm our G minor suspicions, we see an E flat here, which is in the key signature of G minor. So our new key for this phrase is going to be G minor. So we start in D minor, we end this phrase in G minor. And so if we end this phrase in G minor, what kind of cadence do we have here? Is this an authentic cadence or a half cadence? Ends on a G minor chord in the key of G minor, therefore it's an authentic cadence. And so we are on a 1 chord here, right? In G, minor. We're on a 1 chord in G minor by this cadence. So let's try to figure it out. Now, again, we can look and say, at what point do we know that we are definitely in G minor? And it's the point at which we first, in this case, see the leading tone of G minor. So this for us, this is going to be a nice, important sort of chord because it's the dominant of G minor, right? It's a dominant chord in G minor. So that's super helpful for us, right? So again, what we want to do is we found the dominant, so now we want to look at the chord before the dominant and see if it could be a shared chord, right? So let's look here. We've got this. It's a D, F, A chord. I'm sort of running out of real estate here. Let me move our friendly reminder away. Go get out of there, right? Bring it down. Yeah, I may let it go too far away. Okay, so here we go. So we've got a DFA. That's what's going on right before the dominant. And so let's look at that. DFA. Do we think that that's going to be a shared chord or not a shared chord with between D minor and G minor? It's not shared because even though, remember, key signature-wise, sure, D, F, A, those are all notes that are in both of these keys. But we don't typically use the note F natural in G minor. We use F sharp instead. And that's what also gives us, look at the bass line here. F, F sharp, G. That's our really typical chromatic passing motion that really defines the altered chord modulation, right? Anytime you could do ballroom blitz, that's your altered chord modulation. And so we are going to call this an altered chord modulation. And when we have an altered chord modulation, where does the modulation symbol go? It goes on the chord that's altered, which in this case is the dominant of the new key, right? So it goes in the dominant of the new key. So I'm going to really quickly throw down my G minor here. Again, begrudgingly, I'm going to put it outside of the little symbol. Hurts my heart, but I'm going to do it. And so now we can look and get more specific about this dominant. So what are the notes? What are the notes of this chord? Take a look. See if you can think about what the root is. What's the root of that chord? What's the dominant? What's the 5 chord in G minor? It's D. Is there a D in that? No. So the root instead is F sharp. That's kind of exciting. And so this is actually going to be an E flat C A thing. Let me stack that a little bit. See if I don't even know what I'm doing here. Right? This is an F sharp A C E flat chord. It's diminished, right? So it's actually going to be what in G minor? What would we call the chord based on F sharp in G minor? We would call it 7, right? So this is a delightful 7 chord, and it's 7 fully diminished 7. What could be better, right? 7 fully diminished 7. So how can we figure out what to call that in the old key, in D minor? First of all, we know that the way we label it in the new key is the exact same as the front side of the slash. Oh, I keep doing that. Is the same as the front side of the slash in the old key, right? So if I have this, I'm going to end up with the front side of this slash in D minor being 7, 7 of something. The only thing we have to figure out is what the something is. So if we're in D minor, remember, if we are in D minor, the question we want to ask is, what name do we give the new key, which is G minor? If we're in D minor, what name do we give G minor? We call it 4, right? If we are in D minor, we would call G minor 4. Oh my goodness, there we go. And so we're going to label this as 7 fully diminished 7 of 4. Because remember, the way this works is the front side of the slash is the same as the label in the old key, and the back side of the slash is our code name for the new key. And in D minor, our code name for G is 4. So this is saying this is the 7, 7 of G minor chord. And in the new key, we're saying in G minor, this is 7, 7. Right? So these two line up, 7, 7 lines up, and G minor and 4 are equivalent, right? So this is an altered chord modulation between D minor and G minor. We can tell because we've got a chord that is not shared. We've got this beautiful chromatic motion, and we found that the altered chord is the dominant of the new key, and we get to that delightful cadence. All right, so take a look at the third phrase, and we'll see what we've got there to take this thing home.